Okay, good morning everyone. Today we are going to start up a new unit, that is the first unit for your 11th standard, and that is kinematics. So what do we study in kinematics? In kinematics, we study about the state of a body, that is whether the body is in the state of rest, whether it is in the state of motion, how much time will the body take to move from one place to another place, how much time will it take to come to rest, what is the value of acceleration, what is the value of retardation. So when we study about these aspects of a body, we study them in kinematics. But we never try to find out what is the reason behind that state of the body. That is, if the body is at rest, why it is in the state of rest? If it is in motion, why it is in the state of motion? So we never actually try to explore that when we are discussing kinematics. So we ignore the discussion of force while talking about kinematics. So in order to start with kinematics, the first term which I told you is rest motion. So let us try to understand what is the meaning of these terms, rest and motion. Now let me ask you, you are sitting right now at your home watching this video lecture. If I ask you whether you are in the state of rest or in motion, what will be your answer? You will tell that, sir, we are in the state of rest. Now I ask the same question to your mother who is sitting in your living room and watching you, that whether you are studying properly or not. What will be her reply? She will also tell that you are at rest. Now let us say if I ask the same question from someone who is in the space, let us say he is moving in the satellite or he is somewhere in the space and he is observing you. So what he will observe is that you are on the surface of Earth, Earth is rotating, Earth is moving, so you are also in the state of motion. So this example clearly shows us that rest and motion are not absolute terms, they are relative terms. So rest and motion, they are relative terms. And you cannot yourself decide whether you are in the state of rest or you are in the state of motion. It is for the observer to decide that whether an object is in the state of rest or in the state of motion. So now let us try to understand when an observer will say that something is in a state of rest, when he will say that something is in the state of motion. So in order to identify that, it is very important to have a three-dimensional coordinate system. So we are having x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. So let us say at any instant of time, the particle is present at this point P, and we are having an observer here. This observer is fixed at the origin of this coordinate system, and he is observing this particle which is kept at point P. After certain time, what he observes is that this particle comes to a different position Q. So this observer can identify P with a vector. That vector is, let us say, R1 vector. And similarly, he can identify Q with another vector, which is R2 vector. So what this observer has done, he has identified the position of particle when it is at P and position of the particle when it is at Q. So one is R1 vector, another is R2 vector. And since the position has changed, so this guy is going to tell that the particle has performed some motion. If the position vector would not have changed, then this guy would have told that this particle was at rest. So that is what, or that is how an observer decides whether the particle is at rest or it is in motion. So now let us talk about the different terms which are associated with it. So the first term is distance. How do we define distance? Distance is the actual path length traveled by a body so let us say there are two positions A and B. So there can be different ways in which a particle can move from A to B, and the distance you can see, or the actual path length which the particle is going to travel, is going to be different along all these paths. So let us say this is your path 1, this is your path 2, and this is path 3. So along these three paths, if the actual path length is D1, D2 and D3, then mostly D1 you will see it won't be equal to D2, it won't be equal to D3, because all the three paths are different. Now let us try to understand this by an example. Let us say if you are right now at your home, you are in somewhere like let us say Punnamalli, and you have to go to Phoenix Mall. So there can be different ways in which you can go to Phoenix Mall. One way can be to take the route of Madurai. Another way can be the route through Porur. Third way can be you can go to Sri Perumbudur and then from there you can go to Phoenix Mall. And if you are highly over ambitious, then you can even take a flight to Delhi after lockdown gets over. And then from Delhi you can come back to Hyderabad, and then from Hyderabad you can go back to Phoenix Mall. So there is no limitation on how you can go from your home to Phoenix Mall. And across all these paths, obviously the distance will be different because the actual path on which you are traveling is different. Through Mogappair, through Madurai, through Porur. In all these cases, the actual path length which you are going to travel is going to be different. And distance, what is the SI unit in which you measure the distance? SI unit is meter. And distance is a scalar quantity. What do you mean by a scalar quantity? A scalar quantity is a quantity which has got only magnitude but no direction. Let us try to understand it by an example. Suppose if you are going to a petrol bunk, and will you ever go and tell the person who is standing there that give me 2 liters of petrol in downward direction? No. If suppose someone is asking you what is your mass, will you tell my mass is 60 kg in downward direction? No. If someone is asked, you are going to buy some vegetables, will you go and tell the shopkeeper, give me 2 kg of potato in southeast direction, or give me 3 kg of onion in northwest direction? No. It does not make any sense to attach direction with these quantities, these physical quantities. So in that case, such quantities are termed as scalar quantities, and distance is one of the scalar quantities. So now once we have discussed about distance, let us now discuss about another quantity which we call it as displacement. So we will now be discussing about another quantity which we call it as displacement.
How do you define
Displacement. Displacement is defined as change of position vector. Change of position vector. So now if you see it here, change in the position vector, we can represent it by, so we can represent it by delta r vector here. Delta is a symbol which represents finite change. Finite change means the change which you can actually measure. So now what will be delta r vector? We can write delta r vector, which is change in position vector, as equal to r2 vector minus r1 vector. r2 vector minus r1 vector. And magnitude of this displacement, how do we represent magnitude of displacement? By enclosing displacement within two parallel lines. And how do you define it? It will be the shortest distance between initial and final position. Shortest distance between initial and final position. So let us take an example. Again, if the body is moving from A to B along different paths. Now for all these three paths, let us say the displacement is d1, d2 and d3. So what we can say about d1, d2 and d3? For each path, the shortest distance between initial and final position will remain the same, and it will be the length of the straight line which is joining initial and final position. So we can write displacement here in all these three cases will be, magnitude of displacement will be equal. That is, d1 will be equal to d2 and that will be equal to d3. So displacement is a vector quantity. It is having both magnitude and direction, and most of the time we are required to find out magnitude of the displacement, which you can measure by finding out the shortest distance between initial and final position. So again, let us say we take one situation. The situation is there is a body which is present at A and it is moving on a circular path. After moving on a circular path, it reaches a position B. So we'll just complete this diagram. This angle is 90 degrees and this is R, this is also R. And let us say we have to find out what is the distance traveled by the body and what is the displacement, magnitude of the displacement. So at t is equal to 0, it is at position A and it has moved from A to B. This is quarter of a circle. You have to find out what is the distance traveled and what is the displacement. So how are we going to find it out? What is distance? Distance is actual path length. So actual path length will be this much. What is this? This is quarter of the circumference. So 90 degree by 360 degree, and what is full circumference of circle or perimeter? It is 2 pi r. So this will become 1 by 4. So this will be equal to pi r by 2. What about the magnitude of the displacement in this case? So magnitude of the displacement will be the shortest distance between the initial and final position. Can you see it here? What is the shortest distance between initial and final position? It will be the length of the straight line which is joining initial and final position. So it will be the length of AB. What will be the length of AB? We can determine it using Pythagoras theorem. Under root of r square plus r square, and that will be equal to root 2r. So magnitude of displacement will be root 2r. Now let us take another case. The body has moved along a semicircular path. It has gone from A to B. And they have asked us to find out what will be the value of distance travelled by the body and what will be its displacement. So what will be the distance travelled by the body? Distance is actual path length. Actual path length will be half the circumference of the circle because this angle is 180 degrees. So we can write 180 degree by 360 into 2 pi r. So this is half, 2 and 2 will get cancelled. So this is pi r. What is the displacement? Displacement is the shortest distance between initial and final position. Where is initial position? This is initial position. What is final position? This. So what is the shortest distance? It is the length of the straight line joining A and B. So magnitude of displacement in this case, it is going to become equal to 2r. That will be 2r. After this, let us talk about a quantity which we call it as average speed. So average speed for a journey, we actually define it as total distance travelled by total time taken. Total distance travelled by total time taken. So let us try to understand it by one example. Let us say there is a car which is moving with a speed of 40 km per hour from town A, and here let us say we are having town B. So it is going from town A to town B at a speed of 40 km per hour, and the same car is returning back at a speed of 60 km per hour from town B to town A. And they have asked us to find out what will be the average speed of this car for the entire journey. What will be the average speed of the car for the entire journey? Then how do we find it out? So remember, average speed is total distance travelled by total time taken. So let us try to do it. So for that, you can assume the distance between town A and town B to be equal to x kilometer. So what will be the time taken to go from A to B? It will be distance by speed. What is distance? We have assumed x kilometer, and here it is 40 km per hour. So it will become x by 40 hours. What about time taken to go from B to A? Similarly, it will become x by 60 hours. So now the total time taken for the journey, it will be the sum of time taken to go from A to B plus time taken to come back from B to A. So how much will be the total time? X by 40 plus x by 60. So this is 120, 3x plus 2x. This will be equal to 5x by 120. So this is x by 24. If we attach the unit, x by 24 hours. X by 24 hours. Now, what is the total distance travelled? X kilometer in going from A to B and x kilometer in coming back. So the total distance travelled becomes 2x kilometer. So what is average speed? Total distance travelled by total time taken. So 2x kilometer divided by x by 24 hours. X and x will get cancelled. 24 into 2 is 48. So this will become 48 kilometer per hour.